If you're looking at the world and feeling puzzled, you're right there with most of us this month. Hi, my name is Rick Aster. Every year about this time, I like to look at what the United States Christmas shopping season can tell us about the state of the world. So people are feeling puzzled, and there are a lot of reasons for people to not understand what they're seeing this year, but let me tell you about 3 different points of puzzlement that I think illustrate the puzzled feeling that so many of us have. So I'll start with Black Friday shoppers. I did not go shopping myself on Black Friday, but I heard a lot of stories. It was the biggest Black Friday and the day after in stores in 3 years. A lot of people thought they wanted to go out to the stores to see what was going on. Part of it, I'm sure, was that people wanted to do something that felt normal after a couple of years of mostly staying at home. But what they found was not the normal they were looking for. The stories I've heard tell about people going from one store to another, not finding anything they really wanted to buy, not really finding anything on sale, and really not understanding why they weren't finding what they expected to find. Now, if the shoppers were puzzled, the retailers were puzzled too. This was a very difficult year for retail. It was hard to stock everything. There were problems in manufacturing with getting all the components together in the factory at the same time and then getting them shipped out and getting them delivered. So, as of August, which is when you're supposed to be making your plans for what you're going to sell in the Christmas season, people didn't know what they would be able to get. And as it turned out, retailers were able to get enough stuff that the stores looked good, but not so much stuff that they felt comfortable having a normal sale price on anything. It's really awkward when you have a sale and you run out of the sale item, because then people who came looking for the sale either are disappointed or they have to come back another time. Sometimes it's a complicated thing for the people in the store to figure out. So you really do want to avoid that. And so retailers had sales because that's the tradition. They always have sales, especially on Black Friday. But these were ho-hum sales, 5% off on one thing and 15% off on another. And these were not very exciting items, not very exciting prices. Some of them still sold out. But shoppers who went to the stores just expecting to find sale items, of course, didn't find them. And retailers didn't know if they were hoping to get lots of shoppers in or hoping that they didn't just run out of everything. So it's a puzzling situation for retailers too. And then as my third example, let me talk about myself as an economist looking at the retail numbers for the month of November. These are the official numbers. No one really knows exactly what the totals are, but these are pretty good estimates from an official group of statisticians. And what it says to me is that we really don't know what's going on. What I thought should be the headline number was that e-commerce was down from the month before and the year before. And when has that ever happened in November? It sounds preposterous. So how could this happen? Well, part of the reason is that people bought early knowing that stores were going to run out of things, or worrying about that. More people than ever did their Christmas shopping in September, to the point where that showed up on the reports as a significant item for the first time. And a lot of people did their shopping in October, so many so that when it got to November there wasn't that much left to buy. So for the retailers who said, wow, that was a big October, what if we run out of everything in November? Well, that didn't happen. The usual November rush never really materialized. And then on Black Friday, traffic, meaning the number of people in the stores, was the highest we'd ever seen. But sales were basically flat, very similar to the year before. Prices were a good deal higher because we didn't have the deep discounted sale items. Prices couldn't be discounted very much because you have to know you're going to have something in stock before you can discount it like that. So people were paying higher prices, but the revenue was about the same as the year before, so that means people were buying probably 20% fewer items than the year before, and that's never happened either. It wasn't just Black Friday, but the day after. Usually The Saturday after Black Friday is one of the slowest shopping days of the year because everyone is shopped out. But it seems like a lot of people who didn't find what they wanted on Black Friday went out again the next day and tried again in other stores and still didn't find what they wanted. When I try to go over the numbers, I say, I can't figure this out. So we have a lot of people being puzzled in a lot of ways, and here I'm looking at the Christmas shopping season in the United States, but it's much bigger than that. A lot of people are heading back out into the world and expecting it to be what it was before or an improved version of that, and they're not finding it, and they don't understand what they are finding. At the same time, there are a lot of other ways that the current world is puzzling people right now. So what does it mean when you're puzzled? Well, usually it means that you've changed and you were expecting the world to change with you, or you're expecting the world to change only a little to stay relatively the same, and instead you're not seeing what you expected, you're seeing something different. So you changed in some way and the world changed in a different way, and now it's a mismatch. That's what feeling puzzled is usually about. And when I say you've changed, usually this means you've ascended in some way. You've got some more clarity. You're more congruent in who you are and what you're trying to do. You've got a better sense of purpose. One example of this is that people were buying a lot of frozen meat when the lockdown first started, and then that faded about 3 or 4 months later, and now sales of meat are lower than they were historically. And how is this? Well, people got better at eating without eating so much meat, and there are reasons to do this. Meat is expensive, it's low in nutrition, it's got some toxic effects. What is someone going to expect if they're eating a third less meat than they used to eat? They're not that interested in finding meat, but they want to find these other things that they're looking for. But how have the shops changed in the meantime? Well, if you haven't been in touch with them, you don't know, and you probably don't end up seeing quite what you expected. Now, I know a lot of people are going to look at this dynamic and they're going to say, I don't feel like I'm ascending in any sense at all. Often people are ascending and not realizing it. One of the things about ascension is that it happens while we're not looking. It makes sense that there would be a lot of it happening now during the pandemic, because really the key to a lot of ascension is clearing. In other words, you've had these patterns in the past. Maybe you had beliefs, you had preconceptions, you had certain expectations. These are all based in the past. Some of them are based in past traumas. Some of them are based in unexamined habits. And these unexamined habits might come from societal programming, familial programming. These are things in the past that we pick up on without realizing it. And when we finally do get around to realizing it, we realize that there is a better way. You have to realize that you have a certain pattern, expectation, habit, or whatever it is. And once you have that, you can do the work of changing it, taking on something more rational or more in tune with what your goals and objectives are. So there's been a lot of clearing. One of the things about clearing is that it tends to happen when you get away from things. And what's happened to everyone in the last couple of years, almost everyone has had a chance to get away from something. Clearing also happens when you have time, and clearing tends to happen when things are relatively quiet. And most of us have had some form of each of those at some point along the way. Another thing about this is that you don't necessarily realize you're doing it when you're clearing something. You might say, oh, I never realized that this was this way, and really I'd rather have it that way. And it doesn't seem like anything big, but you've just shifted your energy in a way that matters. And you do this a few times, and suddenly the whole world looks different. And that's part of what's happening. That's part of what these Black Friday shoppers were seeing. They're going to the stores that fundamentally are pretty much the same because no one has had a budget to redesign or decorate a store in the last 2 years. Nothing's been reorganized because there's no worker to do it and no one to design it. So the stores are pretty much the same. The merchandise is as close to the same as they can manage. It's the observer who is different, the person looking at this and saying, I'm not finding what I thought I would find. There's something off here. That is the person who's observing who has changed. It's not the thing that's being observed that has really changed very much. So let's say you're one of these people who's going around feeling puzzled at the world. What can you do? Well, you want to realize that you've changed, you've ascended in some way, most likely. You can start to look at how you've changed, and then you can start to look at what parts of the world have changed along with you, because you'll realize that, well, most of the world has either not changed or has changed in other unrelated ways. There are going to be parts of the world that have changed with you, or they're a little bit ahead of you, and they're there to support you in your new way of being. So you can start to look for that. And then the second thing you can do is raise your expectations of yourself. When you realize you've done some clearing, you've done a little bit of ascension, this means you're more clear about what you want to do, about what you can do, what you stand for, what you're capable of. You'll be able to do more things than you did in the past. So you want to examine this also, to say, what can I do now, or what can I expect from myself now that I couldn't in the past? How can I live a better life or be more useful in the world, be more useful to the people around me? In what ways does it make sense for me to raise my expectations of myself? In what ways could I improve my life now that I wouldn't have thought of before? So start with questions like these. You'll find that you're capable of more, and when you start to expect that, you'll start to do more, and you'll find the ways that you can do more. Well, I hope this gives you some insight on what's going on in the world. Good luck doing your new and bigger things. I'll see you soon in another video.